My name's Alice Murray, and this is my oral report for PSY1011. Today I'm going to be talking to you about whether or not exposure to violent media increases an individual's likelihood of engaging in violent behaviour. You might be wondering, why is this a relevant question to investigate? Well, as the media began to grow as an aspect in our society in the 20th century, as did the combination of crime rates and acts of civil disturbances. An occurrence of acts of aggression on prominent public figures led the government of the United States to look for explanations for these events. The media and its depiction of violence has been thought to affect individuals and their behaviours, and consequently, as a result of these incidences of unrest, a great amount of academic research, investigation and experimentation arose, focusing on the question of whether or not exposure to media violence in fact leads to violent behaviour. The 1954 Kaforfner hearings, the 1969 National Commission on the Causes and Prevention of Violence, the 1972 Surgeon General's report, Television and Growing Up, and the 1982 National Institute of Mental Health report, Television and Behaviour, all came to the agreement that televised violence has an adverse effect on certain members of society. By the early 1990s, most researchers in the media field had arrived at a consensus that the effect of media violence on aggressive and violent behaviour was real, causal, and significant. The US population consumes a substantial amount of media violence. Youths between the ages of 8 and 18 spend more than 40 hours per week using some type of media, and this is not just for school or homework assignments. So what kind of effect is this having on them long term? Well, the 2012 article, Childhood and Adolescent Television Viewing and Antisocial Behaviour in Early Adulthood, published by L.A. Robertson, H.M. McCanley and R.J. Hancock in the Journal of Pediatrics, addresses this query and looks into whether or not the negative effects of violent media are temporary or if they're following youths into their adulthood. This article I looked at proved to be more relevant than others. There was a number of reasons for this. The first was because it was conducted within close proximity to Australia, as opposed to studies done in America or Europe. The second reason was because it observed participants' behaviour over a number of years, and not just looking at their behaviour over a number of weeks or months. It also considered other factors which could lead to antisocial behaviour, and not just viewing violent television. The aim of the article was to investigate whether or not excessive television viewing throughout childhood and adolescence is associated with increased antisocial behaviour in early adulthood. The study assessed 1,037 individuals born in New Zealand in 1972 and 1973 at regular intervals throughout their lives until they reached the age of 26. Parents of the study members were required to report how much time their child spent watching television at ages 5, 7, 9, and 11, and study members themselves were asked to report how much television they watched at ages 13 and 15. Regression analysis was used to investigate the associations between the amount of television viewed and criminal convictions, violent convictions, diagnoses of antisocial personality disorder, and aggressive personality traits in early adulthood. It was found that those who had spent more time watching television during childhood and adolescence were more likely to display aggression than those who had watched less television. These associations were stable across the measures of criminal convictions, diagnoses of antisocial personality disorder, and more aggressive personality traits. The children who spent more time watching television also displayed lower levels of positive emotionality as adults. And it can be seen on this graph behind me that antisocial personality disorder diagnoses were positively correlated with excessive television viewing. The results were controlled for a number of different external factors, including sex, IQ, socioeconomic status, previous antisocial behaviour, and parental control. While the results were similar between boys and girls, women were found to be less likely of developing antisocial outcomes. From the study done, it can be concluded that the more time spent watching television in childhood and adolescence, the more likely a person is to develop antisocial personality traits and in turn display violent behaviour. It is important to note that the article is limited in that it does not explore the effects of any other forms of media apart from television viewing. It is also limited in that the study examined was completed over 15 years ago and may have decreased in validity. With these limitations in mind, however, the article proves to be reliable as there is minimal variability in the results found. The study has found consistent results linking television viewing to increased levels of aggression among viewers. We can therefore conclude that media violence does increase an individual's likelihood of engaging in violent behaviour.